Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind. You know, like I always say, in the world of politics, there are no coincidences. Is it a coincidence that after Donald Trump refused to back down, after Donald Trump announced that he was running for president in 2024, that all of a sudden he was hit with a flurry of multiple different indictments? Is that just a coincidence? Just kind of how it played out by chance? No, of course not. Those are all calculated decisions. It's all part of the plan. I don't know about you guys, but I'm a visual learner, and Fox News yesterday put together a graphic which I think perfectly puts it all into perspective. Let me ask you, does this all seem like a coincidence to you or a calculated deep state maneuver? Let me show you guys exactly what I mean by that. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. All right, folks, take a look at this. Let's start off with this little clip here. Here's a Fox News segment with Jonathan Turley. Let's take a look and have a conversation after.
I just want to squeeze in this other thing. I want our viewers to see what the calendar looks like for Donald Trump politically and legally coming up the new year. Everything you see in blue deals with politics. Everything you see with red deals with the courtroom. So Jack Smith has asked the U.S. Supreme Court to fast track a decision. So here are the dates I'm looking at, right? March 4th is the day before Super Tuesday. March 4th is when the trial is expected to be started. The justices have asked Trump's lawyers to give them an answer by the 20th of December, about 9 days from now. The court will meet again on the 5th of January. What is the question before the court, Professor?
Well, what the special counsel is trying to do is leapfrog over the D.C. Circuit, which just got this issue of presidential immunity. Normally, the court wants to hear from not one but multiple court of appeals. What Smith is saying is, let's skip that. I need an answer now. And the priority for Smith is clearly to get Trump tried and, in his view, hopefully convicted before the election. So it sort of flips the DOJ policy, which has been long to avoid having these trials before elections. Smith is fighting to make sure that he can shoehorn this in to that schedule. You know, the Supreme Court may not have the same priority. You know, they may look at this and say, well, we don't understand why this is such an urgent rush, rather than to have the Court of Appeals make its decision and let us all try to get this right.
We'll see what they do. Wow. I mean, there is drama in that decision. Thank you.
Now, I want to start off by focusing specifically on the graphic itself. Every now and then we get an updated version of this graphic. This is the most recent update with all the trial dates, and you can see just how everything seems to fall into place just perfectly. Starting off on the 15th of January 2024, right as the year flips over, E. Jean Carroll's civil defamation suit is scheduled on the literal same day as the Iowa caucus. We have a pyramid scheme class action lawsuit leading into a January 6th trial date right ahead of Super Tuesday, literally the day before Super Tuesday. We have the New York State criminal hush money trial, then the classified documents trial right ahead of the Republican National Convention, and right ahead, of course, all of this transpiring right before Election Day. You mean to tell me it's all a coincidence? It just happened that Jack Smith decided to schedule his January 6th trial date literally a day, less than 24 hours ahead of Super Tuesday. That's just a coincidence. Of course it isn't a coincidence, because Jack Smith is fighting tooth and nail to ensure that that trial date sticks. Jack Smith fights to keep March 4th trial date for Trump and D.C. case. Special counsel Jack Smith is fighting to keep the March 4th trial date in his January 6th case against Trump and D.C. Trump's trial date for Jack Smith's January 6th case is currently scheduled for March 4th, 2024. In a filing on Sunday, Jack Smith's prosecutors asked the Obama-appointed judge Tanya Chutkan not to delay the trial. In the light of the public's strong interest in a prompt trial, the government will seek to ensure that the trial proceeds as scheduled. This is such an egregious act of election interference. What we're seeing here is totally unusual, considering the DOJ kind of has an unwritten rule, an unofficial policy of not setting trial dates ahead of elections, or trying not to really interfere ahead of elections in general. But of course, that discretion is only practiced if you're a D next to your name, or as long as I guess you're not Donald Trump. Merrick Garland's DOJ had information about Joe Biden illegally holding on to classified documents from his time as vice president, as well as his time in the Senate, it, but they didn't want to make a public spectacle ahead of the 2022 midterms. So they shoved it under the rug and did nothing. Wait, that's only half of the story. They shoved Joe Biden's classified documents scandal, Joe Biden holding classified documents before even being president, so he never had the Presidential Records Act to help him. They shoved that under the rug and ignored it, only making it public after the 2022 midterms, but right before people headed to the polls to vote, they raided Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago home, making a massive spectacle of it. Is that just another coincidence? Is that what we are to believe? It's simply unbelievable. The timing is too perfect. The timing is too uncanny. The double standards are too consistent. The discretion is too inconsistently practiced. Jack Smith keeps claiming that the public has a strong interest in a prompt trial. No, the only person who has an interest in a fast trial here, or a quick trial date, is Jack Smith, the FBI, and the DNC. They know Joe Biden is losing. They know Trump is coming back. They know that Trump is probably the biggest threat to their uncontrolled power. And so they have an interest in slandering him in the press, slandering him in the courts, in attacking him and making a big public spectacle in an effort to dissuade people from voting for him. You know, even if their case was legitimate, unless it's something truly, truly egregious and the evidence is so clear, like there's literal video evidence of Donald Trump committing a crime, it's a clear-cut case, trial him and get it over with. In that instance, an expedited trial, I get it. In this instance, when it's a bunch of hearsay, a bunch of brand new legal theories that are being tested, when the cases themselves are so flimsy, when they're built on assumptions and not facts and evidence, there's no real interest to have a trial immediately. Let democracy play. Let democracy work in action. And then if you think you have an extremely strong case, if there's actual evidence of a high crime or misdemeanor, then impeach the president. You don't interject yourself as a prosecutor, having your office leak information to the press, creating narratives, issuing gag orders. You don't schedule expedited trial dates, which strips the defendant of his legal right to go over all the evidence and the millions of pages of documents during the discovery phase. You do not do that. The only reason they would be doing that is if there was a clear intent of election interference and destruction of Democrat political opponents. It is the only logical explanation. What we're seeing here has never happened before. We're seeing Jack Smith trying to impose gag orders, which is absolutely wild considering Donald Trump is literally running for president. We're seeing Jack Smith fight in the Supreme Court to stop any and all attempts at appeals or claims of presidential immunity from the former president. This guy is fighting to take down Donald Trump, and he's fighting to do it ahead of the election, ahead of Super Tuesday. It's obvious what's going on. And any criminal defendant in any similar case, this would not be happening to. They wouldn't be trying to expedite the trial to happen in 6 months. Any criminal defendant has a legal right to have the proper allotted time to prepare their defense, to gather documents from the prosecution. Jack Smith is essentially stripping Donald Trump of that right. We are talking about layers of unprecedented, controversial legal action. These people are zealots, they're deep state operatives, and they will stop at nothing to destroy Donald Trump, even if that means sacrificing proper and fair democracy in the process. And I'd say the circumstances surrounding this case paint that picture extremely clearly. And that's pretty much it. That's pretty much the point of the video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe. Thanks for watching, friends, and I will see you on the next one.